everyone, welcome to Connecting and Stuff. Today we have an amazing guest with us, and if you discovered this podcast from LinkedIn, you might already know him. So we have Naseef today, and he's a speaker, he's a mentor, and he's a marketing influencer on LinkedIn. And he also has his own newsletter on LinkedIn. Everyone should check it out. The name of the newsletter is Elevate Your Marketing, and recently he published the 25th edition, which is amazing. I'll drop everything in the description or caption or wherever you are listening it from. So currently, Naseef is working as a marketing director, and today we are going to discuss a lot of things, and I hope these things resonate with my audience. And so, Naseef, before we dive into all the questions I have for you, would you like to say hi and maybe share a quick introduction in case I missed anything?
Sure, Rashmita. First of all, thanks a lot for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you, for the last few days. Uh, Whenever I spoke to, I've enjoyed the conversation. So really happy to be on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a bit about myself. I currently work as a director of marketing at a company called Econ Systems, and I'm based in Chennai, India. And right now, I've been in the marketing space for about 6+ years now, and I've worked across multiple areas within B2B marketing, including content marketing, SEO, marketing analytics, social media marketing, lead generation, etc. And out of my work, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and a lot of the stuff that I write, uh, podcasts like this that I do, everything you can pretty much see on LinkedIn. And like Rashmita said, I have a newsletter which is called Elevate Your Marketing, which is specifically focused at people who are trying to enhance their B2B marketing efforts. So, yeah, that's a little bit about myself.
Perfect. Thanks for that quick introduction. So let's start with the first question, right? It might come a bit strong for people who are listening to it, but I'm pretty sure all my fellow marketers will able to resonate with this question. So why do sales teams hate marketing? Now, hate is a very strong word, and they don't really hate marketing, but whatever the marketing team does, the kind of lead that they generate, sales don't often like it. And in my personal experience, I have heard comments like the marketing team is very arrogant and they are very self-absorbed. They don't really care about what sales is doing. They don't take feedback from sales teams. So I have myself gotten these comments, and I think I understand where this comes from. Basically, they don't really understand what marketing does, and vice versa, probably. So the question remains the same: why do sales teams hate marketing, in your opinion?
It's a classic debate, right? I mean, you go to large enterprises, the debate exists. You go to small companies, the debate exists, right? So it's a universal phenomenon. Now, like you said, hate is pretty much a strong word, and I don't want to spread any more. I don't want to create a controversy by saying this is the case. But yeah, of course, there is some sort of a misalignment, uh, right? So and it's both ways. It's not like sales people are bad and they hate marketing. It's the other way also, right? I think this predominantly happens because both functions operate in a different manner, right? They have different goals, they have different way of working, they are structured in a different manner, the way they think are different. Sales teams have a lot of huge targets, and they have very short period to meet those. So does marketing. I mean, marketing does have targets, but they are structured in a different way, right? And like I said, this misalignment happens essentially because of the difference in goals that these two teams have, right? And sales team also has this problem wherein their salary is closely tied to the targets or numbers they are able to achieve. Typically, in a large organization, their variable component could vary anywhere from 30% to 50% of their salary, which is quite significant, right? So sales team has to achieve the numbers, or else they lose 30, 40, 50% of their salary, which is not usually the case with marketing folks, right? So sales are always behind these numbers, and they always want like good quality leads, right? Now, uh, like I said, it happens the other way around as well. But I think I'll try to talk more about how some of these things can be fixed. But essentially, the reason why this is happening is because both functions are different, their goals are different, mindset is different, attitude is different, and the way each of these functions contributes to the entire business is also different.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to know what are the tips you might have to, avoid this situation. But I completely agree with this thing that, the sales have pretty much their salary and the money that they make um, tied with the targets that they have to achieve, and which is not usually the case with marketing. And I also believe that, I think there are many organizations that lack this thing, which is synergy between marketing and sales. I mean, I have myself been guilty of this thing where I was not talking to the sales team, and taking their feedback and asking them whether the leads that we are generating are good for them or not, and how they suggest we should improve. So there was no communication or very little communication between marketing and sales team. So I think this is one of the major problems, and the solution is right there to have more communication. But imagine you're working in a in a big team where you have 20 people in marketing, 50 people in sales. How do you think that communication would happen, you know when you're working in such a big organization? So if the organization is small, there are like two people in marketing, five people in sales, you can have a one-on-one meetings, right? But when the organization is really big, you have different teams. You have product team, you have a content team, you have all those other teams in marketing. And same with the sales, you have people who are just taking discovery calls, people who are working on closures, and so on. So in such a organization, how do improve the collaboration between marketing and sales?
Change has to come from the top, to maybe the CEO or the management, where they bring in certain measures to make sure that the communication happens. Sitting together with the CMO and the head of sales, maybe having a joint discussion as to what the goals have to be for both the teams. I mean, defining the goals is not the challenge, but actually making sure that marketing operates in a way that sales is able to meet their goals, that is what makes all the difference. So when it comes to communication, it's about creating that environment where you can have an open conversation, and you reach at a system, a mechanism, a process, a way in which both the teams can agree on certain common goals, which is going to take the organization forward.
Yeah, maybe marketing teams can join a few discovery calls with sale, be a silent spectator and just watch how things happen. Maybe then marketing team would understand the sales job is pretty tough. And similarly, salespeople can help marketing plan some campaigns, and they would understand the marketing side of story. And yeah, all of these come from the leadership. And since we are talking about higher ups and management, I have a pretty interesting question. What happens is when we start a year and we are talking about targets, what happens is often targets come from top to down. So your CEO or your board of members will decide, this year we'll make 2x business, we'll double our income, right? Now this means 2x work for all the teams, be it sales, be it customer support, be it marketing, right? Now you have this huge target, but you have the same number of people, you have the same budget, and you have the same time, right? You only have 24 hours a day. Now everything is same, your target has doubled, or maybe whatever your leadership has decided. So what do you do in such a situation? How do you go to your management and tell them, this is an unrealistic target, or you just follow their instruction and go with the flow? What do you do?
Okay, that's a very tough situation to be in, first of all, right? So it first of all, I think we have to understand what is unrealistic, or define what is unrealistic, right? You said 20% increase in target from the last year, or 30%, 40%, what it is, right? So I think the very first step that I would do is look at benchmarks and how much growth year on year the company has had in the past. Is it like 5%, 10%, 15%? And let's say if I have the liberty to get more resources, hire more people, get more money, uh, bring more money into the system. If I have all this luxury, I might be able to push my outcomes a little further, right? So with all this push and extra efforts, let's say I'm able to grow to a certain level, and if the growth aspirations that the management has is much beyond this, that's when you actually call it unrealistic, right? So first thing what I'm going to do is, we ideally would want to go back and tell the management that what you're telling is wrong, right? But things don't work that way in the real world. So I'm gonna, if
Mhm.
I were to, if I were in that position of a CMO who has to face this situation, uh, what I would do is I'm going to ask what is the context or reason behind them coming up with a requirement like this. Is it because you just want to do it, or there is pressure from other parties like investors, board members, or other external parties maybe, right? So I'm going to understand the business context first, and I'm going to be convinced, I'll have to be convinced first that okay, this probably has to be done. Now the next step is going to be showing them the past data. Hey, look, this is what we have done in the last 2 to 3 years with this budget, these many resources, these many tactics, these many campaigns. This is what we have achieved in last year and the previous years in terms of year on year growth. And if we do if you go at the same pace, probably we're going to reach there. And if you put in, like I said before, a little a little bit more resources, pump in a little more money, maybe we might be able to improve it by another 5-10%, right? But look, with all this, what you're saying probably looks unrealistic, and we got to do something much different to get there, right? So I'm going to give that feeling to them that this is unrealistic, but for sure I'm going to say, I'll put my foot in and try my best, provided you give me these resources that I really need to help the business get there, right? So I'll try to find that balance always, but I'll still try to make sure that I communicate it to the management that this sort of looks unrealistic, and we might break our toes just trying to get there.
Yeah, sounds like an idea. I mean, showing the data would, do the 50% or 60% of your work, showing them, in previous year we have grown this much and the number you are expecting is not really possible right now. So I think data would do the most of your work, and then you can have more conversations if required. Since we talked about budget, marketing budget is often a really hard discussion to have with the person who is going to approve the budget for you. So it is very difficult, right? I have personally been on the both side where I was given some budget and I was only able to utilize the 10 or 20% of it, so I was not utilizing 100% of my marketing budget. On the other side, where I asked for a specific budget to run paid campaigns and things like that, and I was only given like $100 a month to run paid campaigns, which was very bizarre. And this problem happens when, especially when you're working with people who don't really understand marketing. So for example, you joined a company, and you're one of first marketing members or first marketing leader. You had a few content creators, but they were like individual contributors, and you joined as a manager person, and now you have to create a marketing strategy. And you're working with a management who are not, doing anything really big in marketing, and now you have joined and you have lots of idea and you need budget for doing all that. So especially when you're working with such people who don't have experience working with marketing people, or who don't understand that marketing requires budget, and a lot of things are paid in marketing that you see, from awards to all these content we publish on different platforms. So all these things require money. So when you go and ask for budget, and they are always very shocked that it requires that much to run ads, it requires that much for a article to publish on a very known media publication house. So there it is a conversation, a difficult conversation to have. So what do you do when you go and ask for budget? How do you get more budget? How do you justify your existing budget?
Okay, I mean, no marketing budget is enough, right? So it's always, like you said, a tough conversation to have, and it's not. And if you look at these conversations, they're not always very logical. We tend to think that it's all numbers, and Excel sheets, but they're not very logical. So basically, the way I look at it, I try to divide the marketing goals. One is the short-term goals that you have for the next 6 months to 1 year, and the long-term goals you have, and I have to distribute the budget between the two. And most likely for the short term goals that I have, I might be able to show some ROI because of the nature of the channels that I use. But for long term, I wouldn't be able to. I would try to, show some. First, I will take the goals that we have for the year and try to map it with the short term marketing activities that I'm going to do. And I'll try to convince my boss or the management saying that, okay, for you to achieve a pipeline of 10 million next year, you gotta have to spend this much amount of money, or you need to have these many people in the team, right? If you don't give me, I don't achieve your goal. It's that simple, right? And when it comes to long term goals, like creating demand, generating demand, building a brand, etc., that's where it becomes more difficult, because you're not going to be able to show any ROI, most likely in a period like 1 year, for example, right? So something like podcasting, for example, even PR or organic social, uh, leadership branding, etc., these things don't give you an ROI, and a lot of those things are not measurable either. So that's where it gets really tough. But there I'm going to go to some external sources for inspiration, right? I'm going to say, hey, look, a company very similar to ours is doing this pretty successfully. Why don't we try to do that, so that we get results over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years period, right? So this is how I look at it. Short term, one approach; long term, another approach. All this still requires you to have someone at the other end who understand how marketing works, how business works.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a requirement. Either they know or understand how marketing works, or they trust you and your skills, that you will be able to get them ROI by the end of the time you promised. So you need to work with such people. Otherwise, it will be really difficult for you to work. And which is one of the reasons why a lot of marketers sort of switch from having a job, a full-time job, to freelancing or working or consulting, basically working with multiple people. So I have seen a lot of people talking about this on LinkedIn, where they shared their story. They were they were not getting enough team members, they were not getting enough budget, they were not getting that trust from their seniors to sort of execute their work. So it is a problem, and a lot of marketers are facing it. And a lot of people, after working in marketing for, I mean, this is some data from HubSpot or some other organization. Probably I'll able to find it and share it with everyone. But after like 6 or 10 years, a lot of marketers switch from their full-time jobs to actually having a consultation business and something on those lines. They will work as a freelancer, have a consultation business, and have a full-time job, or they completely switch from their full-time job to freelancing. So what are your thoughts on these things? Have you noticed any of these things happening in our industry?
So when it comes to the reason for people to switch to something like freelancing, we all know the reasons, right? It's about becoming your own boss, or being able to work on your own schedule, the ability to prioritize family and personal life when it really matters, the flexibility or freedom to try out your own ideas, all these things, right? And these are not specific to marketing, be it any domain. These are predominantly the reasons, I think, and some of which you also mentioned. Now, when it comes to marketing specifically, I think unrealistic expectations, the point that we discussed just now, is one of the reasons, and there are more reasons as well. Like, for example, not having a leadership or management that understands marketing, which is really, really important for someone to succeed in marketing in the long term, right? Maybe not having the right growth path for someone within the team, because what happens in marketing is, sometimes you have this situation wherein any someone is pulled in to do something that the person is not supposed to do, and the roles and responsibilities are defined in such a fluid or vague manner that you can change it anytime, and sometimes a fixed growth path is not defined. And this is another reason that I find, which is really important, is that marketers sometimes are not paid well. There are definitely exceptions, but in comparison with domains like consulting, operations, finance, investment banking, etc., uh, marketers are generally not paid well. So this could also be a reason why, along with all the others, that people are switching to something like freelancing. And now, okay, and I think there is a difference when it comes to, let's say, somebody who has spent 3-4 years in a corporate, full-time corporate job, switching, and someone who has spent, like, 15 plus years and then moving to something like a consulting or freelancing, right? And I've seen both, and I think both have different objectives. One of the issues that I see with, or one of the challenges that I see with marketing, is that after a while your growth sort of stagnates, right? You become, let's say, a director of marketing at 10 years of experience, a VP of marketing at, let's say, 12, 13 years of experience, a CMO at 15 years of experience. Like, what next, right? You really don't see in large enterprises a lot of CMOs becoming the CEO of that company, right? So after 15, 20 years your growth sort of stagnates and you really don't know what to do next. And that's when these experienced people get into something like freelancing, but they do it at a slightly higher scale. Maybe they start a consulting business, or they start something like a marketing agency, for example, right? So the reasons are different at different levels. And I'm not, I don't think it's an either or game wherein, whether freelancing is better or
Mm.
a full-time job is better. It all depends on your own priorities and what you really want to do with your life.
Yeah, I think I understand. After 10 years, you'll get a VP. After 15 years, you'll become CMO. But what next? What will happen next? You need to make more money. I mean, we all want to grow, right? And now you have become that CMO or VP, and basically, you know everything about marketing, especially for that company. So, what would you do next? Thanks for your time. Thanks for everything. Do you have any ending comments?
No, first of all, thanks a lot for having me on the show. I just wanted to leave with one side note. Since I've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of my mentees, for example, they tend to believe that B2B marketing in general is not, the best space to be in right now, or that's not a place where you can have a long term career. I've seen a lot of people starting with B2B marketing and then switching to sales because they think there aren't many prospects within marketing. And I try to encourage as many people as possible to try and explore the various avenues that are there in B2B marketing. And I can tell you, marketing is not just about, having a right design or creative. If you are that left brain person like me who likes numbers and logic, come to B2B marketing. You have a lot to do, right? So that's the only thing that I wanted to leave with.
Mhm. Yeah.
And if someone is, looking for some guidance, growing their B2B marketing career, or if they're just looking for someone to talk to over coffee about B2B marketing, I'm your guy. So you can reach out to me in LinkedIn. My name is Naseef KPO, and I'm the only Naseef KPO on LinkedIn, so you'll not have trouble finding me. uh, and yeah, that's all from me.
Yeah, I'll drop the links. You can find him in my caption or in my description. So, yeah, Naseem, it was really great talking to you.